It's time for another live review. The weather worked out perfectly. It's been freezing all week. We actually had a little bit of snow earlier in the week, and now that it's Friday, we have a beautiful day to review the Cyrusher Kommoda. I, on purpose, have not ridden it yet, so you're going to see me ride it on camera for the first time today, and yeah, it should be a lot of fun. I'm just checking messages in the background. We got Jory making some sales over here. Jessica's in the background sending out emails and things because it's kind of a crazy day. I just want to give you guys a heads up. I have the live review of the Cyrusher, and then I'm going to do like 4 more live videos today because we have a bunch of demo review bikes, different used bikes they were auctioning off, and they'll all end this afternoon. They're staggered by about an hour. So we're gonna just jump on those, show you a little bit, kind of last details in the last 15 minutes or so of every auction. But first, before we do any of that, of course, we've got the Cyrusher review. Thank you to Cyrusher for sending me the bike. It's pretty interesting, or unique, I should say. I got the website open up behind me. We'll jump over there and get into some of the detailed specs. But I just want to give you guys a quick overview of what this is. So if I remember correctly, I think they said it's a 1,000-watt hub motor. We'll find out what sort of power it's actually got once we ride it. The saddle is fairly comfy, very easy to get on, nice low step through. The other thing about this is you can see it kind of has a flat spot here. It's real wide, makes it easy to get your foot through. This is kind of an interesting bike. It's like they took a step through, they took a powerful hub motor. It's got rear suspension, it's got front suspension, it has an adjustable stem. It's almost like they said, let's make a bike that's compact, easy for just about anyone to ride, but super, super comfortable. And there's what you got. Now, is it comfortable? I don't know yet. I haven't ridden it, but we're going to find out in just a moment here. Really interesting choice of fork. It's a triple tree up front. I did turn the compression knob right here just to see, does that work? A lot of little clicks. I don't know if you can hear that, if that's close enough for the microphone. Little clicking noises. So you have a lot of adjustment in that front fork to very stiff, to suspension. Not air adjustable in any way, I don't believe. But yeah, the compression adjustment actually seems to work pretty good. So really interesting, unique bike. I'm gonna grab this and put it out of the way. Pretty fancy little toolkit box. I'll show you what's in that. There is instead of like a multi-tool, they put in this. So you've got a hex key set all the way from 10 millimeter down to 1.5. That's all the sizes you would basically ever need for a bicycle. So that's pretty cool. The charger is in here as well. I think I'll pop that out and take a look at it in a second. And then it has a pedal wrench, and then it's kind of cheesy looking, but it does have a little bike pump, which I'll admit that's handy if you got the bike out for the first time and you don't know where you put your pump or don't have your compressor plugged in, whatever that might be. So I'm going to set this aside so it's not on the bike. And and in the bottom of that box, there were a bunch of stickers as well, if you want to put decals on things. So good branding on Cyrusher's side. Let's just double check what kind of charger we got in here. Pretty standard, nothing too fancy. It is a 2-amp charger with a barrel connector. That's kind of like the industry standard. If a bike doesn't have that, I would be extremely surprised. And it might have maybe a 3-amp. Sometimes you see a 4-amp on more expensive higher end bikes. But 2-amp standard charger, don't foresee any issues with that. Now, let's jump into the video over here. All right, so not the video, we're in the video, the website for Cyrusher. So I want to go through some of the specs. So if we do, there we go. That should be the right button. That'll work. And I've got the laptop kind of down off to my side here because of the glare of the sun so I can see it. So I apologize. I'm going to get off to the side a little bit here. In fact, why don't we just make that bigger? Let's just do that. There we go. All right, so Cyrusher Kommoda, the retail price is $22.99. So 20-inch fat tire bike, hydraulic disc brakes, full suspension, racks, fenders, step through. It's like they just said, it's like somebody said, what kind of bike do you want? And they said, we want everything. And they literally just threw everything in there. So this is saying 750 watt power. I do think I saw 1,000 watt mentioned somewhere else. So maybe that is a peak output. We'll find out. Let's see. They're saying motorcycle front fork is definitely a bicycle front fork, but it is a triple tree. So it's a motorcycle style, I would say is probably more correct. There we go. I thought I saw that. So they're saying 80 Newton meters max torque and 1,000 watt max output. We shall see. 26 mile an hour top speed. Battery is a 48 volt, 14 amp hour. I was hoping for a little bit more for that power and price, but that's right in line with kind of the industry standard. You know, a little bit bigger I think would have been preferred. This display looks really familiar. I think I've seen this on another bike I've reviewed, and it was really bright, vivid. I loved the way it looked. Functionality, just normal, but it looks super cool. So Shimano 7-speed, 20-inch fat tires. Yeah, there you go. And they've got, you know, customer testimonials and other videos and things on their website. So that gives you guys the basic specs. And let's jump over here. And let me know if you guys are getting the chat to work, because I'm not seeing comments, which we normally do have a bunch of comments. So I don't know what's up with that. Chat away anyway, or if for some reason the chat's not working, leave a comment in the description of the video. Not description, just leave a comment below the video, and I will make sure we go and address those if need be. Jessica, if you're watching in the background, maybe you can look into that, or maybe she can see the chat. I don't know. It's like you guys are invisible, but I see lots of people watching. All right, let's hop on the bike, see how this thing performs, or at least bring it closer. Oh, and I got to mention this. I was going to mention it when I pulled the box off of the back. Very first thing I noticed, look at the size of this rack. Look at this. It's huge. Probably the video doesn't do this justice, but the rack is way wider. It's like 50% wider than normal. It's a huge platform. So I assume they want you to be able to haul some things on this bike. So that's kind of cool. It didn't need to be like that, but it is. I really don't see any downside to having it that big. There is a tail light on the back here. It is wired in. I guess I'll have to find out if it is a brake light or not. Oh, there we go. Tom F says testing. So Tom, I see your comment or your chat comment. So it is working. Thank you. Whatever was up with that apparently is fixed. Let's go ahead and turn the bike on. There we go. So they're using a King meter display. And you know what? Just for those that didn't see this display in other reviews, I do want to show it to you. So let's get the camera on it. It's a little hard to see displays on camera when it's sunny like this, but we're going to do our best. Can you guys see that at all, or is that too much of a glare? Basically, you've got your pedal assist modes. You've got 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It has the numbers, and it also says power, high, normal, low, eco, or off. But if this is like the previous bike that I tested, when you spin it up, it's a half twist throttle, by the way. When you spin it up, It starts reading the speed. Yeah, this one's a little different. The other one, this display would kind of like change and adjust. So, but still nice and clear. So I apologize if you can't see it on camera, but I promise I can. So you've got trip meter here, odometer there, the wattage. So that's kind of nice. Most bikes do not show that. I'm just pressing buttons here to see if it does anything else. Well, without getting into settings, it looks like that's about it. Showing percentage for the battery as opposed to voltage. Don't know if that's adjustable in the settings or not. There is a horn button. I feel like you guys have heard this before on some other bikes I've reviewed. And usually that's like a really ear-piercing, annoying sound. It's kind of quiet on this one. So it's useful, but not as loud as others. You probably would have to be going a little bit slower, a little closer for somebody to hear that. It sounds a little more friendly though, because it's not quite so obnoxious. The other button up here is for the headlight, which it's daylight, so it's hard to tell how bright it is. It looks about average. And then let's turn that headlight on. Let me see if the brake is, yep, the tail light is a running light. Let me just double check that here. Yeah, so when you press the button to turn the headlight on, it also turns on the tail light. And then so it's both a running light and a brake light. It gets brighter when you pull the brakes. So that's cool. I feel like we're seeing more and more, even if you have the lights off, the light works as a brake light. So it works just like you'd see on a car. So pretty self-explanatory there. Let me know if you guys have any questions about the bike. I think the only other thing they could have possibly thrown in here, if they wanted to, was to make it a folding bike, which to me is just overly complicated and more than it needs. Funny enough, it does have folding pedals on it though. No idea why. Maybe it fit better in the box that way. Maybe they just want it for shipping. I would probably swap those out for some different pedals. And because the bike has the nice orange frame, orange wheels, I'd probably throw some orange pedals on there to match. So suspension, just kind of budget entry-level suspension components. You're not going to be doing trail riding videos like we've been doing on the Falcon and the Hydra on this. But gravel like we're on right here, some dirt paths, things like that, this would handle just fine. Bear in mind, these are 20-inch fat tires, so they will soak up a lot of the bumps and little things in the trails. But again, it's not a mountain bike. So hopefully that's clear. I don't know what the weight is. If anybody found that on their website, let me know, because when it came out of the box, I was expecting to lift it and it be like a tank because of the full suspension, the racks, the fenders, that triple tree fork. It looked heavy to me, but when I went and picked it up, it didn't feel that heavy. It was actually lighter than I thought it would be. I'm just taking a guess and saying upper 60 some pounds, could be 70 pounds, but I was thinking something like this could easily be north of 70, even close to 80 pounds because of all the stuff they've got on it. But I don't think it is. So that's cool. That's a plus in my book, because if you want to make something small, easy to get on, manageable to ride, which is I think their target for this, you don't want it to be a tank when it goes to actually ride it. So I think, unless you guys have some questions, oh, and the brakes are hydraulic. They are Zoom brakes. That's what Aventon is using. Other bikes right around the $2,000 price range. So it's priced right for what it is. I think for me, the only thing I wish that was different, and I mentioned it already, based on what I see right here, is that the battery capacity was a little bigger, but it's not bad. So 14 amp hours, if you pedal nice and easily, you can get 30, 40 miles out of that if you want to. I don't know what they advertise, but you certainly can. Let's see. Oh, Tom, thank you for specifying, says members only. That helps. Violet, thank you for becoming a new member. Since that's the case, let me just click a little button over here, and that That way anyone else who is joining knows that that's how they can chat. Can a 4'7" person use it? Maybe. I say maybe because what's probably going to matter, and I don't know the answer to this question right now, is the seat all the way down, the distance from there to the bottom of the pedal stroke. You know, can that be possible to reach there? The saddle basically does go down all the way. So if I'm on it, that'd be pretty scrunched up. So depends on how long the person's legs are. You could go with a thinner profile saddle and get you down another inch or so if you wanted to. But hopefully that helps give you a ballpark on that. But I'm going to raise that up and then get going on this. We'll test it out and see how well it performs. All right. So we are in pedal assist 1. It's got the Shimano 7-speed. I'm in 3rd gear right now. Let's oh, I definitely got to lift that saddle height up a bit. Brakes work, that's good. There we go. So 5'10", that's how it looks for me. Okay, pedal assist 1. I feel there goes the motor. All right, let's test it up this little hill. Ooh, hit the pedal. Well, that's interesting. So the pedal, I gotta come back and point this out. Whatever I said about it being not a trail bike, off-road bike, just confirmed is 100% true. I just hit the pedal on the ground, leaned over about that far. Might seem like a lot, but that's really not much. So that means that the cranks, which that's when I'm off the bike. When I'm on the bike, the suspension's going to be compressed and the pedals are going to be lower. So just be aware that the ground clearance where the pedals are at is not great. So something to keep in mind. All right, let's try that again. Use the throttle to get over there. All right, pedal assist 1. All right. You kind of have to have a little bit of a cadence going to get that pedal assist to kick in. So if you're just pedaling real slow, it doesn't want to. There we go. Every bike's a little different. Sometimes they take a little getting used to. Yeah, there's a little more of a delay on the pedal assist than I'd like. Hopefully that's something they can adjust. So let's go ahead and we're going to just go straight to pedal assist 5. And throttle up the hill. All right, let's try that again. Let's just go from a stop, full throttle, and see how quickly it takes off. So that's it. It feels like they've got a soft start enabled. I know I've said this before, but if you put a real 750 1,000-watt hub motor in a 20-inch wheel and have the power available at once, it will wheelie. It will take off so fast. This doesn't do anything close to that. So I'm guessing a soft start, but let's crank the power up a little bit going up this hill and make sure that this thing isn't limited, because they're saying 1,000 watts. And we have, thankfully, the wattage on the display. So I'm going to try and watch that. Full throttle. I'm getting 900 plus watts. And pulling over 900 watts. It's maybe not as much torque as I was expecting, but it's okay. So it feels not that different to any other 20-inch fat tire bike I've ridden, honestly. So 750 watts. Yeah, I believe it. Obviously, on the display was reading that much, but it does feel a little lacking. Now, though, what that could be, and maybe I can test this with just the bike on the kickstand. It could be they used a different winding of the motor to tone the torque down, but get you a higher top speed, because it did say 26 miles an hour top speed. Unloaded, it spins up to 29, so it's got the RPMs to do it. Whether or not it actually get up to 26 with me on it is hard to say on flat ground. We're unfortunately on a bit of a hill right here, and I don't think the bike takes off fast enough for me to try and get up to over 20 in the parking lot. But it could be that the bike goes a little faster on the top end than some other 20-inch fat tire bikes we've seen. But the power is respectable. Nothing more than expected, but I don't feel like they're being dishonest in any way. I would say it's accurate. I did see well over 900 watts, so to say that it could peak at 1,000 watts is possible. Yes, it doesn't necessarily feel very efficient at doing that, at least not with me on it. So there you have it. The power is good. Suspension-wise, comfortable. I think it would perform a little bit better with somebody lighter on it with the suspension, because like I said, I managed to scrape one of the pedals on the very first turn I did, and I wasn't expecting that. So just bear in mind, not a lot of ground clearance for off-road if you're really compressing that suspension down. I would recommend this as just kind of an around town the bike. The suspension would be great for, soaking up bumps and potholes and things like that. So hopefully that helps. Overall, very interesting bike, very unique. I think Cyrusher's got something kind of interesting here. I think we're only going to see more and more bikes like this, or different styles like this. What I do like about it is that it can be very easily pedaled. Saddle height goes up plenty high enough for me, and we'll go very low too. So I would say, a little over 5 foot or so can probably ride this safely. Below that, you have to take some careful measurements, and then up to 6 foot would be perfectly fine on this. The only downside would be, I think, weight. The bigger or taller a person gets, and the heavier they might get, the more they're going to compress that rear suspension, and it's going to mess with that ground clearance. You might hit the pedals on the ground on occasion, which is not always very fun. So that's my only big critique about it. And the fix for that would be to put a higher quality rear shock that you could adjust and make it much firmer. So there you have it. That's the Cyrusher Kommoda. Overall, I like it. I think it's priced reasonably. Prices have been creeping up on e-bikes as of late. So $2,300 for something like this, retail $2,500, $2,600. That makes perfect sense. I think it's priced about right, about average for the market. And that's kind of where Cyrusher likes to be. Add some extra features that maybe some of the competition don't have, but still keep the price down. Cyrusher is not going for the high-end market, but very reasonably priced budget bikes. So that's what we've got. Last thing I've got to mention before I answer some questions is about the auction for this bike. So Dan Phelps, thank you for joining the channel. Violet, awesome. You got the signed hat that I sent out. Thank you for being patient, for getting that out. First time we've ever done a signed thing. It was interesting, but a lot of fun. And then, so the auction, that's the last thing I got to mention before I go for this live. And then we've got another live coming up in about 35 minutes or so from now. So for the Cyrusher bike, what we're going to do is auction it off on our website. We're doing a relatively short auction. Hopefully that keeps the price to a reasonable range and somebody can get a better deal than a new one, and they can get it right now. They can come pick it up. Shipping is not included in the auction price. We already went ahead and started the auction on this bike. So it is going right now and ends tomorrow. So if you are interested in getting a deal on a Cyrusher Kommoda, we have this very bike listed on our website, just going to whoever the highest bidder is. Thanks again to Cyrusher. I like the bike. I think people are going to have a lot of fun with it, and I hope you do very well with it. And I am signing off. Don't forget, you guys, to come back in another 35 minutes or so for the next live as we start wrapping up auctions on other bikes today. Thank you, and I will hopefully see some of you again